to Skate for Mods. I'm Greg, and I'm going to talk to you all today about Krampus, 2015 film by Michael Dougherty. If I mispronounced that, I'm sorry. Little background. Krampus is the shadow of St. Nicholas. What St. Nicholas, or Santa Claus, is to giving, Krampus is to taking. You all know, on Christmas, all the bad little boys and girls get coal from Santa Claus. Not from Krampus. Krampus will take. If you don't believe, if you don't love, if you don't share, he will take. He will take you, he will take your family, he will take everything you love and care about. Now on to the film. The beginning was a beautiful work of art. I've worked retail for years, especially around the holidays. Watching the film as it goes through its first few opening moments with that weekend before Christmas rush at a shopping center, it had me on edge laughing. I hate it in movies when people clap at the end of the happy, feel-good movie because everything worked out like you knew it was going to. I was clapping during the opening. Just all that imagery, everything was great about it. After the opening, you start to meet the characters. They build the characters up well, they do them well, and only a little bit of exposition, you learn about who the characters are. Most of them are kind of cliched characters. The overworking father, the rebellious teen daughter, the hick relatives from out of state. But they wrap it together very well. They work off of each other well. They go back and forth. It feels very natural. Some parts of the movie had me laughing my head off. It kept the comedy at a good level. It's one of those things you see and you just can't help but laugh. The way the characters are together, some of the elements they incorporate into it, is very funny to watch and very fun to watch. Some parts had me more on edge by the suspense. It wasn't jump scare horror. It wasn't just the cheap tricks of that. It was legitimately what is going on you're caring about. Little bit of a spoiler warning here, not going to spoil the end. Just one of the things with it that I was concerned I had going into it was, will they or won't they kill the characters? Spoiler warning, go ahead and skip forward a few seconds, give you a moment to do that. Okay. Subjectively, I believe they did kill the characters, even the children. Which is something not a lot of movies are willing to do. And just a side note with some of the villains in the movie, or the monsters, however you want to call it. Snow sharks. Fun little story from my childhood growing up in Wichita. I remember distinctly during a snowstorm during my middle school years, one of my teachers talked about a news story that ran a few years before that. It was a slow news day, there'd been a lot of snow. So they were reporting on snow sharks, sharks in the snow that will come and eat and take your children if you're not being careful. Obviously fake. People actually called to complain, so said my teacher. I don't remember seeing that at all. But it brought back those memories, so it was quite funny. The way the ending was done. It starts out kind of cliche. It was one of those, if it went the way it looked like it was going to go, I was going to be very upset. But the actual ending was done well. It was done creatively. It was not what you're going to expect right from the beginning. Still very well done. Throughout most of the film, they use mostly practical effects. They'll use puppets. They'll use people in costumes. Very little CG. When they do the CG on its own, there's a scene with Krampus running around outside, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. Looks very, very good. When they do the CG next to the practical effects, it's still good CG, it's just more noticeable next to the practical effects. It doesn't look bad, it just doesn't look as real as it should. And that's fine. Few other minor problems with the film. Having a lot of children, a lot of child actors, most of them, this is the first film they've ever done. They're not known child actors. They're all new. You can kind of feel that through their acting some, that this is what they're doing first. But they can still hold their own next to the seasoned adults. They know what they're doing. They're being coached along well. It was very good. This kind of makes me think of Gremlins a lot, in the tone, in the feel, in the atmosphere. Kind of that comedy with the suspense, but tying it together nicely. This may become an annual holiday film for years to come for me. I really think it will. It was done well. It keeps the spirit well. My only other minor concern with it is a PG-13 movie. There's not nudity, there's not a lot of blood and gore. Where there is, it's done tastefully and tactfully with the blood and gore. Where it gets its PG-13 rating is from the suspense, which you should know going into it, and the language. At one point, there is an F-bomb used, and there are a couple of points to where they get close to another one, and there's cussing throughout it as well. There's also a drug reference at the beginning, and some of the characters drink heavily throughout the course of the entire film. With all that said, my rating for this film is 1 Grumpy Gary Gremlin out of Spike. Welcome back to, I forgot the name of the show. And I'm going to talk to you today about Krampus, 2013